returns to Mission Debrief. We've played every mission of the mainline Halo video games, and now we're playing every mission from the rest of the games in the franchise in chronological order. Each episode will be discussing our experiences and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us, podcastevolved@gmail.com, or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be recapping Halo Wars on the next episode.
What?
If you like what you hear...
Oh, shit!
yeah.
It's over?
It's over. It's over. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, visit Podcast Evolved on Patreon. This episode, we're debriefing the final mission, Escape from Halo Wars. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krysta Brown.
February 25th, shall we be remembered as John Forge Day? Wait, what does he do? Does he do something cool?
Yeah, he does cool things.
Okay.
He talks to the camera a lot.
Oh. It's like one of those, it's like The Office, huh?
Just gives stares. Last mission was Reactor. Anders, Serena, and Captain Cutter agreed that the only way to stop the Covenant from using the massive Forerunner fleet against humanity was to use the FTL drive from the Spirit of Fire to blow up the star within Etrin Harborage. After the Pelicans transporting the reactor got shot down, Sergeant Forge had to use an elephant to drag the key to their plan uphill through a healthy Covenant resistance and place it into position atop the Apex base site. Now in Escape, the Arbiter and a contingent of elites ambush Forge and Red Team as they're prepping the FTL drive for its trip to the sun. The Spartan 2s slice through the elites, while our fearless leader gets revenge on Ripamormi. Forge volunteers to escort the FTL drive for manual detonation, while Red Team lead the UNSC's desperate search for a way out of the Shield world. Professor Anders and Serena guide Jerome, Alice, and Douglas to unlock a portal that will allow the Spirit of Fire to escape the planet's impending destruction. However, the full force of the Covenant and a massive flood infestation stand in their way. Date of the game, as Krysta already said, February 25th. We'll always remember Forge on this day.
For what?
Wait for it. We'll talk about it later.
Oh, okay.
Because he's cool and he smells good.
What?
Let's talk about this cutscene.
Colin's going around smelling Halo characters. Colin, rate the best smelling Halo characters 1 through 10.
Doesn't he look like he smells delicious? You don't think so?
I'm confused and a little disturbed.
Jesus, Colin.
Too much coffee. Too much coffee today. All right, David. Cutscene time. Save me.
Cutscene time. We have probably one of the most iconic cutscenes of this game.
Yes.
I think it's just a beautiful one that stands apart on its own.
Yeah.
If you haven't already seen it, go watch it right now. It's super damn good. I've watched it like randomly throughout the years. Just like, oh yeah, remember that badass cutscene in Halo Wars? I'm gonna go watch it real quick. Cause it's awesome.
Yeah, you forget how good it is because you don't, not everybody's playing Halo Wars all the time, and then you go off and play other Halo stuff. Like this is one of the juiciest cutscenes we have in Halo.
It really is because it shows both like the awesomeness of Spartans, of Forge, and of like elites all in one. Well, yeah, I guess like in the Arbiter.
We'll just compare think about Halo 5, the Chief and Locke fight. And then cut back to this thing. Like, this thing is amazing.
So much better. Oh my god. The Chief and Locke fight looks really stupid compared to this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because this is like what you've read about the Spartans, you can now see it happening, which is really cool. And it also really sets up the fact that, how is a human being, one human, mano a mano with an elite, how one-sided that actually really is. Like, it makes sense that the elites would look down on humanity as being kind of weaklings in terms of way, because we kind of are in comparison to this much stronger alien race. So what Forge achieves here is pretty damn fucking cool. And it just comes across really well. So the cutscene opens with the reactor on its big tank track, on big ass wheels. You have Forge and 3 Spartans that are only ever referred to as Spartans. They're not given their names in this cutscene, which is weird.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, but it could also be the way I know Blur made these cutscenes, and it was probably made apart from the game. So it's possible they didn't have names when they were being made or voiced or whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, you have 3 Spartans there with weapons that don't match what they've had before, so they're not like easily identifiable.
Right.
So you got
a couple SMGs in there.
Yeah, you got some dual SMGs. You've got a shotgun. I think the third guy also has like an SMG.
Yeah. 2 of them have SMGs.
2 dual SMGs. You have Random Marine number 1. I'm sorry, Random Marine number 1.
He's a lieutenant, I think. He refers to him as lieutenant.
Yeah, he kind of goes up to the door of where you are and kind of looks around, and then the Spartans move across to the front of the reactor because essentially they have to arm this reactor and get the hell out of here, so they don't have to hold the ground a little bit. You get the unmistakable shimmy of a stealth elite, and the Arbiter pretty much pops his sword and comes out of stealth at the same time, which is cool, as opposed to just being a floating sword in space.
What? I loved the floating swords in space. How dare you disrespect them?
It's a Halo thing. What you also get then is pretty much that Marine getting murdered real bad, and a bunch of elites coming out of stealth miles away on this walkway. I don't know why you do it that way, but anyway, they're ages away, and they're slowly walking, and this lieutenant is murdered real bad, and Forge essentially says to the Spartans, "You take care of the elites. I'm going to take the Arbiter who just killed the thing." And it's a pretty cool start. So Forge just kind of kicks off the brakes of the reactor, and it flies down on the rails into the Arbiter, and he kind of has to hold it, and it looks like he gets crushed against the door, which is a fucking cool way to start a fight. The Spartans pretty much set up Uber style with 2 dual SMGs. I guess Halo 2 is a thing.
Love it when he jumps over the elite.
And Douglas, I guess, takes the thing, and these elites charge with like pikes, which are weird. So these are kind of like the honor guard weapons, I guess. We've seen them throughout the game. These elites kind of standing guard their honor guards. So we've seen these weapons before, never actually used.
Not in game. Yeah, we never see it in game.
I mean, it would make sense because there is a prophet around, so there are honor guards around.
Yeah. I guess I always thought these weapons were more ceremonial than functional, but and that they'd have some kind of like swords or like weapons. But anyway, it leads to this awesome thing where the Spartans charge one guy, and they're just blowing dudes up. They're flipping. They're so acrobatic. They're like dual wielding SMGs into dudes as they're jumping them, and like point blank emptying these clips into their faces. They're disarming them with their own weapons and using them against them. It's so dope.
So good.
They're just like catching them in between. One of them, like, he gets a pike and it gets cut in half. And he throws the top half at an elite and just impales him. Oh, it's awesome. The action then cuts to Forge with his SMG, which he's never had before. It's that one cutscene. And the elite is not trapped behind. He's gone. He appears behind them. Forge ducks just in time to miss his getting speared by a second blade. He pretty much punches the elite, so he leaves his blade behind, and he's now down to 1. He empties a clip of an SMG. It does nothing. There's a little bit
pistol. Oh,
it's an SMG first.
He has an AR.
It's an AR first, yeah.
It is an AR.
That gets cut in half. He then charges the elite and knocks him to the ground, and then does this cool ass thing where he elbows the Arbiter in the face, pulls a pistol, and empties the clip into his hand.
Yeah.
And to get him to release the blade, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then it kind of turns real bad. The Arbiter rolls over, grabs Forge, punches him in the gut,
and kills
him. You feel it.
That should have killed
He's dead
him.
now. He's dead now.
His spine is broken.
100%. His internals are gone. Probably shot himself. It's not pretty.
At least peed himself.
At least a little bit, yeah.
You got some cool dialogue here with the Arbiter, which is like the rest of your race, you're weak and undisciplined. It's because it's Forge. He has a plan. He picks him up by the head and kind of throws him into the wheel. The scene then cuts back to the Spartans running down this hallway. The awesome, kind of crazy ass 360 upside down flip dual SME shot to the face.
I love this part.
It's beautiful. It's actually one SMG. And then he just kind of shoots him into his face and then spins him round, and as the second elite spears his own friend, and then gets, again, shotgunned in the back. It's just crazy. And then the very last one is the Lee kind of grabs the shotgun. Douglas just kind of muscles him off it with his shoulder. And that's pretty much it. It cuts back into the Arbiter just throwing Forge around, picks up his blade. He pretty much says, you're weak, you're whatever, blah, blah, blah. Forge says, look me in the eye. Or he says, there's no woman here to save you this time. Forge says, look me in the eye and say that.
I love that, by the way. That line kind of is baiting him, right?
Yeah, the
Arbiter, a little
Arbiter...
more time.
Oh, totally. The Arbiter's just like, as you wish. Picks up Forge in like this crazy aggressive grip where like he grabs his whole head from behind. Like his arm is so huge. He grabs his whole head in the palm of his hand. Lifts him up and says, my face will be the last thing on your pathetic eyes will ever see. And then, oh shit, quick time event. Knife to the throat.
What?
Forge pulls his knife that's in his shoulder holster, which all kind of Marines and a lot of Spartans have, but you rarely get to see. And they should be quick time events, I'm just saying. And Forge like jabs his blade into the neck of the Arbiter, and he pretty much drops his blade. Forge picks it up and jams the energy sword straight into the chest of the Arbiter, which is pretty damn cool as the Spartans walk up.
Also, that blade
like,
has an awesome hilt.
The hilt is pretty cool. It's like kind of like a Renaissance rapier kind of blade. It's pretty dope. Forge says, for the record, I would have kicked your ass the first time. So Dead Forge is pretty much walking around. And the Spartans are just unceremoniously tossing the elite bodies over the edge of this cabin, which is pretty cool. They're just cleaning the place up.
Save that armor, man. Come on.
Yeah, man, it's got some cool stuff. So pretty much as you can expect, which happens in all of these situations, the bombs cannot be armed remotely anymore because of the damage.
Every single time.
Every single time. So someone has to stay and flip it manually. Forge pretty much says, we need the Spartans in this fight more than you need another Marine, i.e. me. So you get out of here. I'm going to stay behind and flip the switch. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty dope, man. I mean, he's a fucking cool dude. Yeah. Gotta love that Forge. He probably doesn't smell so good right now. Just saying, Colin. But he's there. And then the last scene we get is Forge nodding respect to the Spartan as he kind of walks away. Mm-hmm. Into like an elevator of some kind, and it looks like he goes towards the core. Forge is just left looking up this elevator as the kind of roof opens, light comes in, and that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah, well, that's all. That's a lot.
Final mission begins.
Yeah, very nice. Good description. Thank you.
There you go.
Then we have the cutscene. That's when they're starting to talk about this portal, and we gotta get the Spirit of Fire out of there. So let's go over the main objectives of the mission. The objectives: open the portal.
Whoa.
Optional objectives: kill 3 scarabs.
Close the portal. Oh.
Yeah. Leave. So that's it. Just 2 objectives. And for some reason, it finally clicked with me at the tail end of this game, because I think you remember me questioning, like, why is this score so high and why is this score so low? I feel like we did way more in something like Beachhead, but the high score wasn't that high. It's because there weren't that many objectives. The actual objectives that we need to be that give us scores that then use the multipliers to give us the higher scores. There's only 2 in this one. And so the theoretical best score is decently high, but just to get gold, it's not that bad, just because there are only 2 objectives. So the part time is 20 minutes to 33 minutes. 33 must be the full timer whenever that starts. If you don't get that, then you're going to fail the mission. The scoring goals: gold is 30,000 and above. Silver is 20 to 29. Bronze is 10 to 19. Tin is 0 to 9. And then the theoretical best score is decently high at 64,000. So I think that scarab objective must be pretty juicy. I did pretty good. My first run, I did 2 runs. My first run was bronze. I was like, oh man, I think I got like 17,000. I struggled. This mission is kind of overwhelming, because it's like, oh boy, there's some stuff to figure out. So if you haven't played it in a while, you have to do things in a certain order. And we're actually gonna let Krysta take us through this. She's played it the most. I feel like she has the best grasp of everything. So we're not gonna do our individual walkthroughs. Krysta is going to be the one that's just going to kind of lead the charge, and David and I will chime in. And then Krysta and David also, they played the mission co-op.
What?
So we'll have a little co-op experience. And Krysta streamed it. Did you save that walkthrough or that?
It'll be It'll be saved in the archive for at least 30 days. So
okay, so you guys can go check that out. I was watching from afar as the two co-ops the mission. So I got 50,960. Felt pretty decent about that. David, how'd you do?
My first play, I only played this game twice. The first time co-op with Krysta, and the second time solo. So the solo, I'd say, is my quote-unquote real one. Mm-hmm. So I got real bad. I got a bronze. I got 1,400.
Oof.
14,000. It was terrible. Yeah, 14,000. It's not really a lot to say other than I thought I was doing really good. I turtled way too long and to unleash my forces with like super hawks everywhere, bunch of vultures. I felt pretty good about what I was actually doing. At the very end, 2 scarabs just ran amok and destroyed half my shit. Oh. And that really brought my score down, I'd say. And the fact that I took really way too long kind of did it for me. But when I played co-op, I got 42,120. Nice. That's right, guys.
I wonder how.
Yeah. It was really good.
And you actually got the better score out of you.
I don't know how. I did all the work.
Pretty damn great, guys. It's because my shit was blue. You know what I mean? Got that blue bonus.
You got the blue bonus. It's true.
Yeah. I'll do it. Krysta, how did you do? What was your high score?
I got 51,960.
Oh!
So just 1,000 more than you.
Eked it out. Dang, I thought I was going to have a little run there. 2 in a row. So Krysta is the official winner. She won like halfway through this whole competition.
Hooray!
Hashtag cheater.
I don't know how I did it, guys.
Well, we watched you, so we know. Like, the way that you play this game is pretty impressive. The builds and moving things around, it's like, you know what the hell you're doing. It's pretty impressive to watch. The overall, the final standings, I guess, is Krysta won. Let's see, I won 3, so I won 3, and then Krysta won 12 of the missions, and David did not win any of the missions.
I didn't want to win,
but there's always Halo Wars 2. There's always Halo Wars.
I don't know if it'd be any better, but
but that was fun. Thanks for I don't know, sticking through that with us, guys, and we'll figure out if we, I still may want to try on Heroic for the next one, but Krysta wins Halo Wars. Congratulations.
Yeah, what do I get?
You get high fives.
Yay!
And you know what you get?
We can't do high fives.
You get a nameplate.
Oh, okay, cool.
You get a Halo Wars nameplate.
Perfect.
The best. Yeah, there you go. All right, on the battlefield, this one's kind of like, it's everything, right, Krysta?
It's everything, including Hawks and crazy backblast super upgrades. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And all the Flood units are here. All the Covenant units are here. It's just everything. It would take too long to go through everything, but
which it should be for the last mission, right?
Oh, definitely. You should always have like an awesome arsenal at the very last mission, so it's super epic. Yeah.
There's sentinels that are floating around too for whatever reason. So
they don't do much either.
Yeah, there's some big ones though. There's some big juicy ones that were causing problems.
Big boys.
Yeah, and then there's the little ones too. But I think the only units that the UNSC doesn't see are the specialized ones. So we don't get rhinos, which we saw early on in the game. Grizzlies, we don't get to see grizzlies anymore. And then the gremlin, which is Anders' special unit. But I think you can build elephants. Doesn't it let you build elephants? I think it does.
You can.
So you can build pretty much everything. And then it's weird having all of the Spirit of Fire abilities because we haven't had them all before, and we finally get them all at our disposal. So I know that I used the I didn't put it in here, the cryoblast as well. I used the cryoblast a little bit here and there just to see, and it actually worked out okay for me. Yeah. So difficulty modifications on easy, all enemy units have 25% less health. And 20% less damage. It says least aggressive enemies, and enemies have low level upgrades. Least, that's bad. Lower aggressive enemies. There we go. Let's pick it up there, Prima Guide. Heroic, all enemy units have 25% more health and 25% more damage. Enemies have high level upgrades. You begin with half the supply resources. Yeah, you get a bunch of supplies right away. I think it's 5,000 or something crazy. So having half would be quite a bit of a hit. On Legendary, all enemy units have 50% more health and 50% more damage. Most aggressive enemies and enemies have highest level upgrades. Ooh, this mission on Legendary. Ugh, it makes me shudder. Yeah, and you begin with only 1,000 supply resources. Ouch. That hurts. This would be rough. Okay, so as I mentioned, Krysta's going to walk us through. David and I will chime in here and there, and then we'll go through the co-op experience at the tail end. Then there's the whole cutscene stuff. So we got a nice little healthy show here for you, Krysta. What do we do here? Like, what's our approach?
So the overall goal of this mission is to open this Forerunner portal, and how to do that is there are the two the two portals on the other side of each other need to be opened at the same time. The way to open the portals is you have to clear out all other alien life in the vicinity of the portal controls.
Yeah, and it's not that big of a radius, I guess, but it's like I remember on one of them, it was like there was this flood egg that was just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, and then you have to just pop.
I couldn't. Yeah, I just had to pop that, and then all of a sudden I could open it up.
And you don't even need units around. Once you clear out the area, you're free to open it whenever you want. Mm-hmm. The best order to open them is 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then 5 o'clock. So it goes in that order. It goes clockwise. Mm-hmm. These little guys. Okay. So
there's an achievement too, I think, for I know there is
opening them in that order. Yeah,
in a specific order. And there's a little Forerunner symbol that must be like telling you which order to open them in?
Yeah, they all have Forerunner symbols on them. The two matching ones are the ones you open at the same time. They just happen to be across the way from each other, all of them. So
yeah,
once you learn that, you don't really have to worry about the symbols at all anymore.
Yeah. The other little nuance of this mission is because Forge is not around anymore, your bases start as just fire bases. And then you have to upgrade them to station and then also upgrade them to fortress.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's not that big.
Oh, never noticed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so his special ability in multiplayer is that everything starts as a station.
Oh,
interesting. So that's kind of a nice tie-in, I think.
Okay, so the main goal in this is the bonus objective, which is to kill 3 scarabs. Mm-hmm. Scarabs roughly take 5 minutes to spawn in once you kill one of them, and if you actually want to make the time goal, you're going to have to get on that pretty much right away. My strategy for taking out the scarabs is to upgrade the Mac Blast to 4 rounds, and then carpet bomb it. It's quite glorious, because that way you don't have to be sending units and sacrificing units over to the scarabs. You just destroy it from orbit.
And do the scarabs show up on the map whenever they're spawned? Or do you have to
No, you have to go find them. So the Covenant base on the very left side of the circle is going to be from your starting point. It's going to be the left side of the circle from your starting point. That's the base that's going to spawn in scarabs. So you definitely don't want to start going that way on the circle. You want to go counterclockwise from where you spawn from the circle. So you want to go straight into the flood infestation.
Yep.
But first you want to upgrade your base. You want to upgrade your base, reactor, supply pads, upgrade again, reactor, supply pads, upgrade again, more supply pads, field armory, and then upgrade all that, upgrade all the reactors, and then start churning out those Mac upgrades. You want to be churning them out. You need to do 3 of them. They're expensive. Get those done as soon as you can so you can take out that first scarab that spawns in. That's going to be your goal. While you're waiting for that to happen, I took all my Of course, I took my Marines, and then there's a Forerunner supply pad to the left and right of your base. Garrison those guys there. Take your Spartans and start going counterclockwise up the circle. You're going to run into some flood, and you're also going to run into a pretty base. So you're going to plop another base down there, more supply pads, and you're going to get an air pad going, and you're going to start churning out vultures when you got some extra money.
So have you killed the scarab at this point, or not?
Not yet. Once I try to get the second base pretty quickly off the bat once I establish the first base. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to start going up the circle. Like when I was at the not the one right adjacent to it, maybe the second one up. It was a gate or two away from the main base that I was able to get all the upgrades. And then of course you have to wait for the scarab to not be moving because he's hard to hit, and you can't waste any of those Mac rounds if you want to kill this thing in one swoop.
I felt like, so the scarab for my playthrough, maybe this is standard, is that he was just attacking the flood area right away. And so I couldn't go too far up to the right, at least I didn't want to, because I didn't want him to start attacking my units. So I kind of skirted them around. So I kind of parked them far enough away where the scarab wouldn't bother me at all. But then I kind of moved them far off and to the right so that I could, take out some of the flood. And then he finally eventually just kind of buggered off and left them alone.
Yeah, the scarab seems to kind of just randomly circle the gates. The hard light bridges and gates, and he just kind of randomly aggroes onto something every once in a while.
Yeah.
So as long as you don't have units on those blue panels, he shouldn't really bug you. Then you just gotta wait for an optimal moment to take him out as soon as possible. So take him out, and then you just have to literally just wait a couple minutes for the next one to spawn. Usually the next one will just start crawling around that middle area too, depending on how far in you are. But another optimal way to do it is that Covenant base all the way on the left. You can it spawns on the left of the base, so you can kind of like take a hornet and like peek and see if it's spawned in yet, and then run away. So I would do that occasionally, and I upgraded my hornets to Sparrowhawk during this run and upgraded the vultures. So my team consisted of Sparrowhawks and vultures. Throw the Spartans into the Sparrowhawks and just keep going around the circle. So
you get a max of 40 units right away, and then the upgrade gives you up to 50, which is interesting.
Yeah, so once I completed all those Mac rounds and stuff like that I wanted to upgrade, I definitely upgraded the population to 50.
Yeah. Did you mention, that little light barrier that you can activate on the left, so between the Covenant base that spawns the scarab?
I usually I go over that, so I go all the way to the top of the circle and activate those the first two panels first, and then I send units all the way back over to the left of the base, not quite to the Covenant base, but just enough to unlock the second set of doors.
Yeah.
And then once that happens, usually there's a Covenant base on like the the top left area. There's another Covenant base there, so I take that out. Usually the second scarab spawned by now, so you want to take that out as soon as you can. And then at that point, like, pretty much ready to go, every other door's open, and then you're just waiting for the game to spawn another scarab, which is kind of annoying.
How much do you pay attention to the flood? Because there's a ton of them on the kind of the right side as you're starting the game. On the right side of the map there's a lot, and I felt like I wanted to build a bunch of bases. I wanted to just make the full clockwise or counterclockwise sweep where I was clearing everything out and then building a base. And then actually sometimes I built a base too quickly, and there was like one of those launchers that just took it out, or like maybe even just like a couple infection farms that would just destroy it before.
That happened to me a few times.
Yeah. So you have to really clear that area out before you build those. But Krysta, were you building? How many bases did you have at the very end?
3 or 4.
Yeah. So you don't need them all. In other words.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I would plop one down just to plop one down, because sometimes the Covenant can reclaim the bases, so you want to at least have something there. For the bases by the flood, just make sure you're throwing turrets on the base as soon as possible, and it pretty much takes care of itself.
Did you get assaulted by? At one point, I got assaulted by some locusts, and it was just a pain in my butt. And I was like, oh yeah, because they can hit you from a long ways away. And your turrets, at least your base turrets, don't even notice that they're there.
That's annoying. Usually I would just take a Sparrowhawk over and destroy them. Every once in a while I'd try to get a Spartan and a Locust, just because they're nice for destroying bases.
Oh yeah, I didn't even try that.
Yeah. Good point. But...
the other thing that reminds me, the other thing you don't get in this mission is Cyclops.
No.
That's a forge unit. But those would be helpful for taking out a base. But really, the bases aren't that bad. It's more just the scarabs that are a pain.
Yes, the scarabs are super pain. Just to getting them to spawn in is really frustrating. So the end of the run, I was just waiting for the final scarab to spawn, and then boom, 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 hit him, open the last door, and then you're done.
Yep. So did you even destroy that Covenant base? Did you do it for good measure, or did you just leave it and take out the scarab and then open?
Sometimes the door will let you activate it even though the Covenant base is there. So if I had the ability to do that, I just opened the door.
Yeah, might as well, right?
Yeah, just so that I was making sure I was getting under par time.
This, and you said it somewhere along the lines you beat this whole game on Legendary, right?
Yes. Leading up to Halo Wars 2, I beat Halo Wars 1 on Legendary.
Okay. And this mission's got to be just crazy hard.
Yeah,
right?
it's a pain in the ass. Like, on when you're doing a Legendary run, you're not worried about taking out all the scarabs. You're not worried about the par time. You just sit and turtle until you have enough shit.
Oh, okay. So you're not necessarily getting gold.
Oh, no. You're getting, like, tin. You're just trying to survive on Legendary.
Yeah. You got to really optimize everything if you want to get gold on Legendary.
Yeah. That's way too much work. I was just doing it for the Chivo.
Right. Yep. Very nice. David, any other little nuances? Were you kind of going with, Sparrowhawks and vultures and stuff on your runs?
Yeah, I went all air on the missions I did by myself, but I obviously didn't do it as efficiently as Krysta did. I was throwing bases down left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I lost a few of them because of flood stuff, and I feel like that all this is obviously going against me in my score and why I got so bad. Is that I imagine losing a base is a significant loss, even if it's one that you've only just started to build.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's not great. But other than that, like the mission itself isn't bad. I kind of like it, to be honest. It's kind of a weird map design. It's kind of annoying where like the Covenant can kind of come across the portal, and I feel like your units can't. At least when I tried co-op, I couldn't get any units onto the portal. I found that a bit annoying because I was trying to fight them there and stuff like that. But obviously, air units just like are the key to victory.
Speaking of just the word portal, like we think about portal as, a teleportation device, but in this sense, in this mission, portal is just opening. That's all it means.
Yep.
So you're just taking out the the hard light cover off of this portal so that you can just essentially just opening the door so you can get the hell out of the middle of this shield world. Let's see here. Any other interesting tidbits? I'm trying to think. The skull. So once you get the scarabs, the skull is, where is it? It's kind of at the top of, or it's in amongst a flood, right? It's kind of in some floody areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure to get that because and one of them actually I haven't gotten the skull yet because of my high score. I felt like I did pretty good. I got all 3 scarabs and then I just ended the mission without going to get the skull. So I still need to go back and do that because I was just too excited. I was like, okay, just get out of here. Let's be done. But grab that skull. It's right in the flood area, flood infested area. Excuse me. And then the black box is kind of close to that. To one of the Covenant bases, like on the edge of the portal doors. So go grab that too. It's easy enough to grab. All right, let's do the co-op round. How did you guys do? How was it? It was fun to watch, that's for sure.
It was
How does co-op work?
Strange. It was weird, especially when you didn't really know how the co-op would work, but it's actually cool. Probably the last mission wasn't the best mission to start it on, but obviously we kicked ass because, Krysta carried me.
Right.
And that was kind of great. You start off and, you have the ability to, build your own stuff in each other's bases. You start off with, one base. My stuff that is controlled by me cannot be controlled by Krysta unless I release control. You can give each other units by selecting them and there's, an option to from your leader wheel, I think, to give a person the control of that unit. You have the same resource pool and the same population cap, so it's not like you can just spam anything with 2 players. The mission isn't any harder, I don't think, based on the number of players in there, but obviously you're working from a limited pool. You need to kind of coordinate if you're splitting units and producing things. differently. The second player gets a color, and mine was blue.
Yeah.
Seeing the blue skinned units was really cool. Like seeing a vulture that's blue and blue air units and blue warhogs, it's really cool. They really stand out, which is obviously what they're supposed to do, so you can tell the difference between units. The same with like the leader power pool. You have the same resources. I think, didn't we, or could we? No, they were separate actually. So we could like shoot almost like 8 Mac rounds at the end.
Yes,
because we had 4 each.
That's
really cool. Which allows you to kind of pull down multiple heals and multiple transports and stuff, which we never really did, but would have been cool. It's cool. It's fun. Like I've rarely played co-op RTSs, so I've found this quite enjoyable.
And so could you build everything that, because Krysta was the first player.
Yeah.
So you could go build supply pads, you could build reactors, and then you would only, just to clarify what you were talking about, when you went to the vehicle depot yourself and built a Scorpion, that was your Scorpion.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then Krysta was off building her stuff. So I guess in this mission specifically, you know, you could even say like, okay, I'm going to take this base and this base, and then you can have these other 2 bases, something like that. If you wanted to, like, kind of split it up that way, or you could just spawn stuff from the same base.
Yeah, I mean, there's no difference really in terms of like who builds or controls a base, because you can build whatever unit you want from it, and they become yours.
Yeah.
So I guess just in terms of like score keeping, that might make a difference. Which is probably why I got the higher score in that run, because I probably had a lot less losses per kills, and Krysta had the bulk of the force because she was zooming around the fucking map, fucking doing shit, talking about Forerunner symbols, and I'm like, my thing's blue.
Yeah, it's fun to watch Krysta, an expert at this, I would say, just how quickly she moves, and yeah, my brain doesn't work that fast, and maybe it will if I have more experience, but I don't think so. I think it's just you got your wraps on this game. It's fun to watch.
Yay! Thank you.
Cool. So co-op's worth it, I would say. Is there achievement for like doing the whole thing co-op? The whole campaign? Probably.
I would have to look it up. Maybe. Yeah. I know we got Chivos for just doing one mission.
Yeah, I think it might be only one. There's 1 or 2 secret achievements I didn't look up, but it didn't look like there was a whole campaign co-op.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff for skirmish and different achievements tied with the multiplayer
so annoying.
and stuff.
I hate multiplayer achievements. Like, should not exist. I hate them so much.
Just in general.
Yeah, just because they're like, if it was level wise or something like that, it's fine. But I don't know. I'd much prefer campaign achievements.
Yeah, like doing weird things in multiplayer. I mean, some people just play multiplayer, but I feel like that's probably not the case in RTS. I think most people would play the campaign and multiplayer if they really want to, extend the life of the game.
I would also assume, like, generally, if you're someone who only plays like multiplayer, like, you probably don't care about achievements.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's nice when it's nice to have some things here and there, and it's more of like when you're playing multiplayer, it's like, oh, I did that thing, cool.
Yeah.
Neat. The game recognized something that some goal that it set for me that I didn't even know existed. Cool, thanks. Versus
it would be something really special to actually hold my attention enough to me to grind out multiplayer achievements. They're pretty rare that I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things I think I can think back to when I think I tried to get most of them in Halo 4. Like, you had to do a couple of funky things, like with a rocket launcher or something like that. Like kill people after you've, like, when you're jumping off of one of the man cannons and kill. So those things are kind of interesting, but just I would say I agree, because just put those all in campaign so I can do those in like my enclosed single player space.
Yeah.
So I don't have to like ruin other people's experience of multiplayer because I'm off fucking around trying to get an achievement.
Yeah, I think it's just a big problem. I think it's just like achievement hunters and multiplayer, like people wanting to be, pretty serious about multiplayer. It's like, it just doesn't work very well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, totally. The other thing, I think I mentioned the cryo bomb was handy because there's one point where for me, so back to when I was doing this by myself, the scarab was like scurrying off, and I I threw a cryo bomb on top of it so it stayed put, and then I could use my back blast.
Oh, that's perfect.
Which is kind of handy. Yeah.
Oh, that's real clever. I never thought to do that.
Yeah. That and I think there are a couple of spots too. I think because I was approaching the base, one of the Covenant bases, and I was like, oh, this thing is kind of effing me up. I'm just going to do a cryo thing and see if it works, and it did. So then I got, had that in my head. I was like, oh, I'm going to try it on the Scarab too. Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Did you do any ODSTs, David? I know you're an ODST man.
I did. When we played with Krysta, we bombarded the last base with a shit ton of ODSTs and Mac blasts.
It was
just
so
everything
good.
came from space. It was really good. And when I played solo, I tried to do it too because I had what I call a rampant scarab that was doing laps of the map, murdering all of my shit. And I wasn't clever enough to think the hole would freeze it, so I just dropped ODSTs around it as it was running around, trying to just have some kind of mobile units to try and take it down. It was fun, but not it wasn't productive.
Yeah.
Not the best use of resources by any means. But other than that, I love ODSTs. They're dope.
They are cool. Very cool. And did you drop them on a Scarab at one point?
Yeah, that was what we did in the co-op.
Okay. Did you remember if it did anything?
No. It just looked cool.
Yeah, right. Nice. So we have an end cutscene to discuss, but anything else you want to cover before? I think there's engineers in here somewhere too that you got to deal with from time to time.
Yeah, they're just little floating blobs. They don't do much. Not
a big deal. Anything else you guys want to cover before we do this cutscene?
I think we're good.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
David, do you want to take us through this last cutscene?
Oh my god, the last cutscene. I mean, it's...
Rip.
This is what... Yeah.
It's cool, and as you can imagine, it's got everything an endgame Halo thing should have.
Uh-huh.
It starts off, through the last mission, it should be Forge is talking to you, just in case you're wondering, what the hell happened to Forge.
Yeah.
He is talking to you and giving you a countdown and stuff like that, and saying, yeah, I'm activating it now, pretty much at the end.
He says he gives you a 10-minute mark. He's like, okay, 10 minutes, get the hell out of there.
So the end cutscene begins with the Spirit of Fire, the Forerunner ships floating around. You can kind of see them now. They look kind of weird around the sun. Kind of a cool shot when you think about it. That you can see the quote unquote planet around it, and the sun in the middle of it, which is kind of cool. It gives you kind of idea of kind of the scale. So it pretty much says that the end of the last mission is okay, all ground forces are being evacuated. Serena says, okay, hangar bays reports all crews checked in. We evac everybody off this. Cutter pretty much says, let's not us, they are welcome. Let's get the hell out of here. Serena is saying the gravity field is expanding, so Forge has obviously pushed the button at this stage. Mm-hmm. He's gone. And he says, we're not going anywhere. We're trapped by the sun. So then it's pretty much, okay, another space standard of, sci-fi games. We're going to do a slingshot maneuver. So that's pretty much what the Spirit of Fire does. We're going to slingshot around the sun and into the portal that you opened. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But so it's interesting that it almost seems like he just thinks of that in the spot.
Yeah, totally. But
versus, maybe this is how we're gonna get out of here.
Yeah, well, slingshotting around gravitational bodies is a thing now.
Yeah, so we do that all the time.
Documented thing of how to propel things in and out of deep space and stuff like that.
It also saves crazy amounts of fuel. When NASA's trying to send ships off to Uranus or Neptune or something like that, they wait until the planets are going to be aligned at a certain date so that the craft can just slingshot and save fuel to go farther into space faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, best way to think of it is a low tech solution to this problem. So it's pretty cool. So then you get a cool scene of the Spirit of Fire flying around this sun at crazy speeds while the supernova is sucking in the Forerunner ships. It's pretty cool. You can imagine the G-forces are pretty insane. It's got a great GoPro camera scene for a second outside the ship as it rockets around the sun, which is pretty cool. And then it just kind of needles through the thread. The Spirit of Fire shoots through the portal, which looks tiny in comparison. It doesn't look to the scale of the mission.
Yeah, good point.
Let's say when you think about the size of the Spirit of Fire to like what it flies through. But anyway, let's go over that. Spirit of Fire comes through the other end as this planet is breaking up. It looks dope as it kind of implodes on itself, and the Spirit of Fire just kind of pretty much shuts away as this kind of planet blows the fuck up. It looks cool. And
Forge is okay though, right?
Well,
he's good.
Sure, almost. It then cuts to the Spirit of Fire, Cryo Room 3, March 11th, 2531. So this is apparently Captain Keys is talking to Anders. He's saying there's no need.
Captain Keys.
Sorry, Anders. Anders says, I would like to stay here or stay awake and monitor the area. And Cutter says, no, it's been no sign of the Covenant for almost 2 weeks. So there's no really point here instead. So he's like, there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Anders is arguing. Cutter's having none of it. He puts her in the cryo tube and turns it on. Says, you got us out of there alive. Get some rest.
Yeah, just a reminder, because the FTL drive we don't have anymore. So they're just they're somewhere and they're floating in space now.
Yeah.
They can of course, they still have regular engines, so they can set a course to something, but.
And they're going pretty fast after that slingshot move. They're moving.
Not fast enough because they're in super deep space.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter how fast they move. Do you know what I mean? In terms of the distances in space.
Mm-hmm.
So Anders goes into cryo. She's frozen. Cutter's pretty much close up the rest of the empty tubes, and it kind of shows Forge's one being closed up but empty.
What?
Hashtag sad.
Yeah.
Because he did it really good.
No.
He's a true hero.
He is. He's awesome. That's kind of more or less where like the game ends. There's a bit more afterwards that even in other mediums that we'll kind of cover, I guess, in our wrap up.
Well, we do get a little stinger at the very end.
You do get a little stinger.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
Serena
says
something has happened.
Wow.
Gotta leave the door open for a sequel, right?
Always.
Got to.
Well, I think they set it up really nicely. Just the Spirit of Fire just floating in space. It's pretty much just the end of Halo 3.
Yeah. Well, good point. Yeah, the little stinger, and then it's interesting too because we know so much about AIs at this point, I would say, because it's been talked about in the games when we talk about release order. But you're saying something has happened, and if you're thinking about like timeline and Serena, you don't know how old she is, so she's still around when something has happened.
Ooh,
which is interesting, right?
Spooky.
So there's comic book. Go read Tales from Slipspace, and there's a comic called Something Has Happened that talks about that. And then when we go into Halo Wars 2, we'll learn more.
Wait, there's a sequel?
There is indeed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff. These cutscenes are so good.
Thank you,
there's
Blur.
some little thank you very much. There's little inconsistencies in lore and stuff like that, but we don't let that bother us too much.
I'm ready for the
overall.
Sentinel cutscene.
Yes.
It's coming. Halo Wars 2.
That's right. Okay, cool. That's it for Halo War. We did it!
Yay!
We'll do a recap show, as I mentioned, and talk about a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other thoughts, and more lore and some cool stuff that I think we'll go maybe a little more in depth on Etrin Hardridge and the Sentinel or the Forerunner ships and stuff like that. I also want to at least cover off on the skulls because I abandoned those, like what they are. So I feel like I'll at least mention those in the recap show. But let's do our trivia and then we'll finish it out with some community. Oh, there's a black box too, I would imagine.
Yep. Yes,
Yep.
there
Okay.
is.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Okay, trivia. Like Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 3, and slightly to the Spartan. To Spartan is badly written. Okay. The final level in Halo Wars involves escaping an explosion designed to destroy a Forerunner structure, quote unquote, the Halo conundrum, Halo solution. to stop the antagonist. It is also vaguely similar to the end of Marathon 2 journal, as the protagonist must put a sun into early supernova. Interesting.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. The Forerunner symbols on the projected blue floors are numbers 1 to 5 from the Iris campaign. After 5, the symbol for 3 is repeated. Interesting. It is possible to kill any, if not all, members of Red Team by opening a door whilst they're standing on it.
Oh, really?
One will see the Spartans fall to their deaths. Interesting.
Perfect.
I was going to ask about that. If you could do that for the Covenant.
Yeah, you can do that for the Covenant. You can do that with all the units.
Can you do that with a Scarab?
Yeah. I don't think it counts
so
as a
that's
kill, though.
Okay,
Oh.
I didn't know this is possible. There is a mega turret that seems to have been abandoned, much like the Scarab and Beachhead, near one of the Covenant bases. It can help destroy the base if it's garrisoned.
What? You can garrison
No
that? I
way.
noticed it, but it
Interesting.
didn't do anything.
I did not notice it.
It's by that big
Okay.
Covenant base that makes scarabs.
Okay, in the center of the level, there's a structure similar to the Sentinel Shop or Protector Plant. It produces protectors in groups of 3 most of
Yeah.
the time, and the Covenant will battle the Sentinels if contact is made. Once the player has beaten the game on Legendary, the Legendary ending will play every time, regardless of difficulty. Also, if the player skips the credits when playing on Legendary, it will skip ahead to Serena's Legendary dialogue, rather than skipping it too. So that must be the Legendary part.
Yep.
Just
Something has happened. Yep, that's it. That's all we got.
But they must have just unlocked that for the definitive, because I got that.
That's what I'm thinking so too.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, cool. Thank
There
you.
we go.
Black Box, what you have?
All
Anything cool?
right. It's okay. I mean, so February 25th, 2531, thanks to Sergeant Forge's sacrifice that he totally didn't die in, the Spirit of Fire escaped from the Forerunner Shield world. Spirit of Fire sets a course for home as the majority of the crew prepare to enter cryo sleep for the journey that will take years, if not decades. It's very far away. Space is very big.
It is. It's large. All right, so let's do some community, because I have a related question on community.
Question.
You're very good. A very timely question, Colin.
It is.
Colin Perkins, the admin, April 10th at 8:12 p.m. It's 25:42, and you begin your 6-month shift of keeping an eye on the Spirit of Fire while everyone else is in cryo. What do you do to pass the time? Question for Mission Debrief, Halo Wars Escape Mission. I'm guessing we're going to get a lot of quarantine-esque responses in this, Colin, so very timely. Matthew says, thinking about that, it's rather dangerous to have only one person basically by themselves for 6 months. Says Matthew. I imagine it'd be shifts in crews and teams.
Just play along. Play along.
Yeah, play along. Thomas says, play Halo and make podcasts. Good man. Tyler says, practice on my sharpshooting skills. Matthew says, use a Sharpie to draw mustaches on other parts of male anatomy and all other crew members' cryopods.
That's good.
What you should do is just
Jared-
Sharpie out the whole thing so that when they wake up, they just see blackness.
Oh, God. They think
Oh,
they're
that's
dead.
scary. Cause, Jared says, play Halo Wars 1 and 2. Lucas says, I play all the games on my Steam library that I'd swore I'd get to, but never have. Probably at 100 games I've never played.
Yeah,
Sounds like most people with Steam accounts.
feel that.
Manny says, in Halo 5 they had war games, which means the holodeck must have been invented around that time. I'd spend my time on the holodeck. Don't ask me what I'd be doing.
It's gonna be those
Gross.
episodes of Star Trek where Data's Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Schwartek says, maintenance of paladins, broadswords, longswords, polishing Shiva warheads, and railgun rounds and other vehicles.
Need to be tinkering.
Alan says, do a la Dr. Foe in Star Trek Enterprise and run naked around the ship singing. Probably not running, though. Running around naked sounds very uncomfortable. Reading and playing video games is more likely.
Yeah.
Ben says, not safe for work.
Oh.
Storm finally says, clean up the ship because everyone probably left it dirty before they went into cryo and play nothing but solitary to pass the time.
Oh,
I'll talk
boy.
to my friend Wilson.
Yeah.
Shout out to
there you go.
Wilson.
Yeah, shout out to Wilson. There we go.
Very nice. Discord, how'd you do?
All right, King Bigbeard said I would take my time to play Halo 2 Lasso, but I wouldn't finish. Spartan Tundra says, watch some Halo movies, play some Halo games, read some Halo books, then play some Gears 5 and laugh at the people screaming at me. Who's screaming at you? Dizzy Buffer says, I'd just reboot some stuff. Spartan B312 says, play Kerbal until my head explodes. The computer Alt F4s itself. The save game gets corrupted, or I get infected by the flood. So.
I've never played Kerbal. I have it, I think.
I've never played it either. I know of it, though. Hectorius says, binge all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, then The Walking Dead, then Master, I'll talk to my family. Yeah.
Right.
Matt has posted a gif of Michael Jackson saying, just beat it. So.
So he's going to be dancing.
He'll be dancing, yes. He'll be learning all the cool Michael Jackson dance moves.
Yep.
What a great way to spend your time.
Good cardio.
And finally, Jedi Spartan 38 says, binge watch everything from my favorite franchises, lose all faith in humanity when I get to Torchwood, Children of the Earth. So basically, how I'm spending my time in lockdown.
Nice.
But very good stuff, Discord. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a long time to spend alone, so I don't know what I would do.
6 months.
Yeah. Lots of video games for sure. Maybe I'd start reading some comic books that I haven't read.
Hopefully Serena's still around. You have someone to talk to.
Yeah. Could have some existential conversations with Serena. That'd be fun.
Blow
Just
my mind,
stare.
Serena.
Yeah, exactly. Stare into space. Lots of stuff to do. All right, that will do it for our debriefing of the escape mission from Halo Wars. On the next episode, we'll be recapping Halos, talking about its place in the Halo universe. Send us your thoughts. podcastevolve@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. You can also support the show by visiting Podcast Evolved on Patreon. Until next time, evolve.
Evolved.
Evolved.